Welcome to the Aesthetics Injector Gang podcast. Having a gang of mentors in this industry has been a blessing that we wanted to share with you. Our core group has been traveling together and comparing notes about life and business for years. Tune in as we delve into topics with others in the industry that you are sure to love and make you laugh.
Welcome back, guys. Thanks for joining another episode of the Aesthetics Injector Gang podcast. You are stuck with me today. We have the beautiful Sara Manifould, hot off of an American Airlines flight from some destination in the Midwest, not initially where she needed to. And Val is fresh from a nap. Poor thing's been working a couple 24s, and she is post mac and cheese that doesn't look like it was homemade.
No,
was it good?
Definitely was not homemade.
So I think today we're going to start this one off and just talk about all things scary and aesthetics. We are coming up on Halloween, and we are coming up into peel season, but we are kind of focusing today on things that have been a little scary in aesthetics between the patient experience and from a provider perspective. So thought we'd chat about that on this lovely Sunday evening.
Yeah, it's spooky season, Brandon. You know that spooky season.
It is, and thank God we're not doing video because we all have faces right now that only a mother could love.
We're definitely feeling the full vibe of spooky season. Sarah's, I think we're all like kind of in our pajamas right now. I think Sarah's fresh off the airlines. I'm, like you said, fresh off my couch, kind of. But it's just been it's been a week, but we're like rolling into the next week, right?
Yeah, tomorrow's Monday. Oh boy. Well, so Miss New Business Owner, Valerie of Spindrift Aesthetics, what has been the scariest thing for you recently that's top of mind?
Oh gosh, there's so many things spooky about having your own business, right? I think sometimes like spooky, scary thing for me is like I'm by myself a lot, and though that's something I wanted, it's like a self-induced, painful growth process. But I always have my gang via video and phone calls. So I always feel like, I have people behind me. Spookiest thing for me, money. Money is a spooky thing for me. Because it goes really quick and it's hard buying products and having to pay the bills, while building a practice can be really scary. So yeah, I think for me, that's spooky number one for me. I haven't had any like real issue. Well, actually, I have had issues.
Actually, that's a lie.
Well, I think we already talked about the water heater incident. Building contracts and other things, or like your lease contracts and stuff are super spooky because there's all this fine print. I'll have to say, like, I maybe read to page 3, and I was like, oh, this is all straightforward. But then it was like my air conditioning went out, I think, day 3. And living in Florida, it was 642 degrees in the office. So I was kind of like panicked about my products and, had to make sure everything stayed like at a cool, neutral temperature. So those are my 2 spookies right now with business ownership: money and showing up to no AC in your office.
Okay, well, you said like 4 more things too. So I know I asked for 1, but the first thing you started out with was that you are alone, and that's a very valiant point in this day and age to be a single injector like Ashley and to be in a space by yourself. I mean, it's 2023, right? There's crazy people all the time. We had one time a drunk couple come in like off the street, and they thought that like the studio was still the hair salon that it was, and they were like 3 sheets to the wind midday. I mean, it doesn't help that we're like right around the corner from Augie's, right?
Oh yeah.
But like they came in, and thank God I was there to divert, because Ashley's needle deep in someone, and to try to shoo away drunks, be like, oh, sorry, I'll finish your cheek in a second, can I help you get the F out of here?
For everybody who doesn't know, Augie's is the local fan favorite bar that we all frequent when we're in town.
Yes.
Ashley and Brandon are there more though, but great place to be.
Yes, and I call it Wendy's because it's like the only like good fast food that you can actually get around there because there is no Wendy's. There's only Taco Hell.
Double
Um,
stacked cheeseburgers.
but yeah, I mean, safety is a very, personal safety is a very valid point. Like we have a phone line in the back because, Ashley's always paranoid that someone's going to kidnap her in a regular Uber. So that's why she gets Uber Black. But, she always thinks someone's going to like murder her or kill her or something. So she wants to be facing the front, which is valid. But I mean, you'd think she was a psych nurse in a former life, but
I think the
yeah.
worst people wandering around in my vicinity, the high school is right next door. So I always have kids that are like loitering in front of the store.
Mhm.
I personally don't mind because I would rather them loiter there than, somewhere that's unsafe, I guess. But they're just
Mhm.
usually like waiting for like their parents to pick them up or whatever. And I love for the parents to pick their kids up in front of my studio because I hope they're Googling my business as they're sitting in their car thinking about, is it time for Botox or fillers yet?
Mhm.
Absolutely. Come and talk to me.
Yeah,
But
that's
no
a very
drunks.
good point.
No
No
drunks.
drunks, not yet. It's Florida, Val. It's only a matter of time.
I know. Actually, spooky thing number one is I practice aesthetics in any form of medicine in the state of Florida. That's spooky number one.
No, that's actually for real. COVID in Florida was it could have had its own reality TV show.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We were just down here
100%.
I think spring break happened. Everything happened during COVID. We didn't stop. Can't stop us.
All right, Sarah, what's your spooky number one top of mind?
Mine comes from, I feel like, more of an employee standpoint because I never want to own my own business after knowing all of you guys. I love you all
What?
dearly, but like
You don't want to fix the water heater at work or worry about paying $50,000 product orders? What do you mean?
No, surprisingly, that's like not on my to-do list for today. No, I've always been very upfront. I don't want to own my own business. I wanted to find just like a partnership that I could grow in that I loved. And when you start in aesthetics, they kind of just hand you a needle and they're like, go for it, have fun. And there's not a whole lot of training. So the first two med spas I worked for, my medical director, because I'm a physician assistant, so I have to have a medical director,
Mhm.
who is an MD. So my medical directors were not plastic surgeons, not dermatologists. I think the first one was internal medicine, and the second one was primary care.
Mhm.
Who they had no idea like what Botox and fillers were, but they were signing off on my paperwork. And just trusting that the med spa was doing a good job training me, and they were not. I was
Mhm.
seeking my own trainings elsewhere, so it was great. But I think that's probably the scariest thing for me in this industry is you have all these brand new injectors who are signing up for these med spas and not having any idea what they're getting into.
Mhm. No, I mean, literally last week we had a listener of the podcast. Shout out, Andrea. Can't wait to meet you. She literally wants to do more of a residency because one thing that she mentioned, I called her when I was driving down last week to DC, and she's like, I don't understand how these people do this 4-hour courses and go and do Botox and filler in people's houses. She's like, I can't roll like that. Like, safety is number one. She said safety like 85 times. I'm like, is this Valerie? Is she calling in on a fake number? But I mean, people don't want to put that time and investment in their education because, as we all know, we've said it time and time again, there is no clear-cut way to get into aesthetics. There's no regulation, there's no guidebook. You have to build your own resume and spend your own money. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They just want the fast money.
Exactly. And so I see all these new injectors going to spas that I used to work at, and I know the situation. And it's scary because if you're not paying for your own courses, then you're just shoving this product into somebody's face without any training, and you're going to not get great results.
I'm waiting for the one day when someone like comes in and is like, when's the last time you went to a cadaver course? I think I'll cry like when I'm sitting there listening to somebody ask that. But like, I mean, I know they don't know how like to ask that, but like, I'm surprised at a lot of people that just have, I mean, obviously like before and afters and Google reviews say a lot about a person, but you go into a doctor's office, you kind of look for the credentials on the wall. Like,
Yeah.
they don't really ask like, where did you go to school? How did you get into this? Where did, not, I shouldn't say everybody, but like not a lot of people go into that depth to ask like, what's your training? Like,
Nope.
when's the last conference you went to? Ashley's really good during her consult. She usually freely gives that up as part of it. Like, I'm a nurse practitioner. I do this, I do that. I'm a trainer. I'm that, but, do you guys do that during your consult too? Like explain like your role and like that have to train a lot and stuff.
I do. I just let them know like what the recent trainings that I've been to are, and just like I'm very forthcoming, like how much these trainings cost and why it's important to find an injector that goes. But not only that, I mean, DC is a very transient city. I'm sure you, or well, Brandon, you do. Val, you're in Florida. You guys know this, but I have a lot of patients who move, and they're asking about finding new injectors in other cities. And some cities I know people, some I don't. And if I don't, then I say like, here are some tips to finding. And the number one tip is like, ask questions on where they were trained. And people are always surprised. They're like, oh, I didn't know I could ask that. Or I didn't know like I should. I thought once you get a degree, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think especially when when a new patient sits in my chair, like we definitely have that very heart-to-heart discussion of who I am, where I came from, my training, how long I've been doing it, kind of also like I cover like my mantra with them, like, listen, this is how I approach lips. This is how I approach rejuvenation of the face. And, let's get you on a plan, and let's not just like willy-nilly, like just do a couple syringes. Like, let's talk about your goals. So I think like your initial consult with that patient is going to help develop that relationship. And I think it's important they know like where you come from and kind of like your background. I might not have, 15 years in aesthetic medicine, but, I've been a nurse for X amount of time. Like Sarah's got emergency medicine experience. And I think that puts a lot of people at ease, especially just knowing like, oh, okay, so she's a PA in emergency medicine. Like she's got some background in that kind of care. And so I just think I think once you open that door and let them know a little bit about yourself, I think that puts them like at ease. But I don't think a lot of people would have asked those questions. It's just like informed consents. I had a woman tell me, like, I feel like you're scaring me right now, because I have that candid conversation about, there are things called vascular occlusions. This can happen. It is unlikely, but if it does, like, it's going to be your number one problem, and it's going to be my problem. And I'm amazed at how many people have sat in other injectors' chairs and flat out tell me like, no one ever told me this. And they've had fillers 15 times before me or something ridiculous. So,
or the best is, Val, have you ever worked for an office that refused to carry Hylenex because it was too expensive?
I think they had like 3 or 2 vials of Hylenex in an office. And I immediately was like, you have got to get more of that. And they're just like, well, it's expensive. That's their first thing they say is, well, it's really expensive. I'm
it's
like,
not that
what else
expensive.
is expensive?
Jesus,
litigation.
Yeah, that's my thing is I'm like, it's not that expensive. And thankfully, once again, it was just a med spa that was owned by somebody who was not aesthetically trained, and they just didn't really know what they were doing. And of course they were open to it once I sat down and explained what the need for Hylenex was. But again, that was when I was like a brand new injector, so I didn't have this great community. Now my office carries a huge amount of Hylenex. But if I had a true vascular occlusion that required me to flood the area, like I might go through all of that. But now I have connections in the city where like I know I could call up a friend and be like, hey, I need more. And it would be at my office in 20 minutes, no questions asked.
Yeah, absolutely. I think back in like 2019 or 2020, I can't remember what year, I kind of reached out to like a handful of other injectors in the area that I knew. And I was like, hey, like, let's just get a network. Everybody can have everybody's phone number. Like, and if you need something like an ultrasound or more Hylenex, like, can you call on that person and it, you get it to him somehow. Because I think it's, it's scary not to have that backup. As a new practice, like I bought what I could buy, but every month, like I buy more and I stockpile it. And yes, it expires, but there's absolutely like, there's no reason to not have that. I think I talked to this nurse. This is like super scary story. And then I'm bringing this up because of the Hylenex, like people have these parties at their house. And it was a physician that is well known in the area. And he does, Botox parties at people's houses, but he's also doing filler. And she comes up to me and she says, "Hey, I know you do injections. Like, I have a half a syringe of filler. Like, could you just put it in my lips for me?" And I stopped and looked at her. I said, "Why do you have a half a syringe of filler at your house?" And she's like, "Well, I went to a party and they weren't able to inject it all, so I just kept it, but I can't get back into the office. So I just wondered if I brought it into the hospital, like, could you inject me with it?" And I was like,
So much is
"What?"
wrong with what you just said, ma'am. Oh my God.
That's like red flag after red flag after red flag.
Yeah.
One, why was a patient sent home with excess filler? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know about you guys, but like, we
Yeah.
don't save syringes for like a
Mm-mm.
visit 6 weeks down the road.
No.
Like when we open it, it's used on that patient that paid for it that day.
Yeah.
Like, why was the patient sent home with their own filler? Like, also that's sketchy because that's like asking for a patient to like Google how to inject, and there are YouTube videos
Yeah.
that'll show it. Like, and then they're going to end up with a vascular occlusion and not know how to deal with it. And
Mhm.
Or an
two,
infection, a terrible infection.
yeah, like, and finally, you have been to so many trainings and paid so much money to become trained on how to be proficient in these areas, and somebody just walking up being like, "Hey, I just throw it in real quick. It's not a big deal." It is a
Yeah.
big deal.
In the locker room at work, another nice clean location. We want to be doing that where people's shoes and everything's sitting around. But, I mean, the sad thing is this is a doctor that told this person that that's okay. And what can I say? I mean, they took it for face value. And I just told her, I said, "Listen," I was like, "there's a lot that I can't do about this situation. I cannot help you with your problems. I'm
You should
sorry."
have just taken it and like thrown it away. Be like, sure, I'll do
Yeah.
it. Meh.
Don't ever do that
I'm
again.
saving you, you stupid idiot.
Or had you guys ever have the patients that come in and they're like, "Oh, we want to split a syringe," like siblings, and I'm like, or like boyfriend, girlfriend, friends, and I'm just like, they're like, "Oh, my injector." Actually, I had a client who did it. It was probably a year ago now. She was like, "Oh, my injector in Florida used to do it all the time," and I was like, "Florida's a scary place. Don't like, no,
that
we're
does not
not."
happen at Spindrift Aesthetics. That's
No.
for
Full
sure.
disclosure, everyone. Full disclosure. We're not doing that. It's Spindrift.
And I was just like, no, like, and they're like, "Well, we usually want to pay for half," and I'm like, then
No.
go find somebody who will do that. I'm not doing it.
You go to your doctor and say only do half the procedure. No, you don't.
No.
It's up to you guys. You're the experts. I feel like I don't remember someone asking me. It must have been a while, but now like if we do a sale, I do have to put that little caveat on there, like no splitting.
Yeah.
And then that just kind of heeds that. So yeah, oh God, I cannot even imagine that. That's crazy.
Yeah, sometimes what patients ask is the true scary thing, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
Yeah. I think every injector's top like annoying request is for like, I've had at my one office I worked at, they had let so many people for so long just get like 10 units of tox in their whole face. And I had a guy that won like on one of their like spin to win things, like 10 units of Dysport or something. And he's like, "Yeah, just do both of my eyes and my forehead." And I was like, I just kind of stood there and I was like, I can't, like, you're not going to get anything with that. And you can go through like the medical explanation, and I swear some people stare at you and they're just like, "No, I want the 10 units, but I want it here, here, and here." And I stand there just like baffled at how I can possibly do 2 units around each eye, 3 units in the glabella. There you go. You look
Okay.
great.
Nothing's gonna happen.
I'll see you when you're complaining.
I've gotten so much better in the last few years about firing patients.
Yeah.
You have to.
Like, that sounds so mean and bad. I promise I'm a nice person in person. But if we are not, like, I'm not here to negotiate. You are not going to go to your doctor and, like, before surgery be like, "Oh, no, I only want half the dose of Zosyn."
Right.
I don't want to pay for it.
I don't want to pay. And your doc's going to be like, "No, there's, like, a reason why this is the dose. There's a reason why we give it. It's not this is not a negotiation. Aesthetics is not a negotiation."
Yeah. It's still medicine for a reason. I think Mary Beth Hagan of Titan Aesthetics always makes like a good point to say, like, we have to stop calling them and I'm guilty of it. Like sometimes I say, oh, my client, I don't know why I don't know if it makes it sound like more exuberant or something, but I'm like, no, they're my patient. Like we have to get back to remembering it's medicine. These are patients. These are procedures.
And that this is a profession, not an industry.
Yeah. Kodafana just talked about like people. He said, what did he say? Like, are you going to go to the best TikTok dancer for your procedure? Is that how we're rating people now?
Hey, if you can get that sculpture mixed up nice, I mean, maybe it hits different. I don't know.
Mix it, shake it.
I will say the one thing that still kind of gets me, and I don't know why, I think it's because I was ICU and not ER, but when somebody passes out, like I know that they're like safely in her chair. Like no one's passed out like standing up, but like we literally had someone last week pass out, and I just like always like my butthole clenches, and I know they're going to be fine, but like I don't see it coming right away because I'm usually not looking at the patient. I'm looking at Ashley. But when she busts out like 2 fans and tells me to get ice packs, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. I love that Ashley's got her like, okay, go get the ice pack, Brandon.
I know. And she's so calm and soothing. It's so cute. But like, it's that really like, that's my spooky number one because I just don't like anticipate it, and it's always usually new patients. Like once they're in there, they get like a nice little red note in there that pops up, and I usually schedule them when I'm there because it totally threw off her entire day. Like it took another 20 minutes to get her like back, and then of course we let her sit and monitored her for a little bit. But it's the people that come in, they're probably dehydrated. I know she didn't eat, like who knows what else complicated that matter, but
I can just hear Ashley, hi, you just passed out, sweetie. It's okay.
She's like, what helps? And then, it's cute. But
it's nice that you were there for that because I've had that happen before. And my office setup is kind of like the docs are on the surgical side, and then they have the med spa, which is on the same floor, like right next door. You can like they're connected. But as far as the med spa goes, I'm in like the very far last room. I think it's probably because I'm loud. I've been told. So they want me like away from where the facials and the massages are happening.
We need to get you a panic button.
Yeah.
You're by yourself too. Oh, you're just as dangerous. They just put you at the end of the hall. You're not in a building by yourself.
Yeah, they just put me at the end of the hall. Now, that being said, like if I truly needed help, both the docs I work for would be in the room within less than 30 seconds. So they're wonderful. But I have had people pass out before where I'm like, I'm not going to yell because somebody's getting a facial and that's just alarming. Do I leave them for a minute and get help? I always have my phone. So I normally end up just like calling the front desk and being like, I need ice. I need ice. I need ice. But it is nice to have somebody there who can help out because I am ER trained. And even when somebody passes out on me, I'm like, oh, okay. I know what caused it. I know they're going to be fine. But there's always that thing in the back of my head of like, is it something more?
Yeah. Yeah. Sarah's got their legs up in the air. She's yelling on her phone. I need help.
Oh my God. Our chairs are the best chairs. They will put the patient's legs like 5 feet in the air. I mean, they will be like at a straight, their head is on the ground and their feet are in the air. It's wonderful.
Maybe this is something Ashley should consider since she was looking at buying a new chair, Brandon.
I know. We actually did look at some at the conference. Now that you say that, I need to follow up on that to see if they were supposed to get back to us because I was really trying to like, I don't know like what I thought I was doing, but I'm like, oh, if we buy 3, can we get the 4th free? And he was like not having my humor. I'm like, come on, no, it's a sale. And he's like, no, this is the price. I'm like, no, but can I do a little better?
I want 4 for the price of 3, Sarah. I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying.
$500 off each? Come on, it's crazy. Total random synaptic misfire. You guys, you have to see the picture that's coming out with our Scout Guide Hunt Country with her, like blazoned across her horse. She is stunning. I cannot wait until this drops. I'll have to send you guys the
girl
preview.
On fire? Because I feel like she reminds me of Katniss Everdeen.
It is like next level. It's gorgeous.
Oh, I want to see.
Shout out Angela, because she's just stunning. So I'll show you guys this after. It's amazing.
You guys have a phenomenal photographer. I just have to say that.
It's different every time. I will say the Scout Guide has good photographers. They have done, and also Modern Luxury too. They have done some amazing shoots. But I don't know how I got on that tangent. But I'm sorry. and not
Sorry, I'm on
sorry.
the tangent now. Sarah, you were in DC Modern Luxury, right, with S&P?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because that photo shoot was phenomenal as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Because
it
Sarah's,
was.
of course, like tall, gorgeous, the dress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was perfect. I actually borrowed my mom's dress for that shoot. LOL.
Oh, I love it.
I saw her this weekend and I gave it back. I was like, thanks for the
Mom, can I
loan.
go get a dress?
Thanks for the loan,
Oh,
Mom. Yeah, we have been in for the last 3 years. It's been great. The photo shoots are so easy. It's like an hour start to finish, and then the docs always take us out for dinner after. So it's lovely.
ah,
Yeah, it's kind of
beautiful.
mandatory. I mean, modeling is so hard, so you have to like get some food after.
I have to
Oh
stand
my-
there and smile. It's so hard.
Speaking of models, I told Brandy she just needs to quit this whole nursing thing and just go start shooting for Harper's Bazaar. And I was like, what is happening here? I'm like, why is she even bothering with? I mean, we know why she's bothering with it. She's brilliant. She's wonderful at what she does. But she was just featured on Harper's Bazaar Vietnam, right?
Mhm.
Wasn't it Vietnam? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fire. That cover was fire. She looked amazing.
Oh yeah. There's more coming.
Oh,
I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Brandy's like, well, brace yourselves. It's going to get better.
So many things. Yeah, I learned a lot in Dallas. Yeah.
Oh, I was so sad I missed Dallas.
Yeah, so Aesthetic Next was definitely different this year, being in the Hilton Anatoly. The setup was a little reminded me of Amp Spa because it was like a lot of walking, but still a good conference. It was really good to be able to speak with Ashley and do a workshop with new practice owners, because it's always refreshing to see the people that are proactive that haven't even gotten into it and they're seeking that education before they just jump in head first.
Yeah. Well, and I think going back, we went on a little bit of a tangent, going back to like the spooky theme, because I like spooky. I feel like Ashley and Brandy kind of entered the industry at a really spooky time when there was nothing like Aesthetic Next. There were no
100%.
big conferences. There were no big trainings. It was kind of like sink or swim, figure it out on your own. And they're like incredibly, incredibly talented injectors to have survived the industry during that time. And like when I entered, I think, how old is Aesthetic Next?
This was its 5th year,
5.
even though they skipped that
COVID year.
2020. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been around, I guess, for 6 years, which makes sense because I started injecting 7 years ago. And I remember because I went to the first one and I was like,
I didn't know that.
oh, this is so cool. Like, anyway, so it was just a spooky time before conferences like that existed, where everyone gets together and kind of discusses not only great things that they're doing, but also like bad things that have happened and how to learn from them.
Well, at least they're teachable, right? And they understand the need to like continue to evolve their craft, like all of you guys do as well. One thing that was super spooky that I've never heard of, but literally this one woman, I felt so bad for her. She's like, my husband literally came home one day and said, I bought a med spa, now run it. Like,
oh gosh.
legit. Like she had no idea what she was doing. I forget what she did, but it was not like medical. But she was like tasked with like transforming this med spa that her husband just bought on a whim. I'm like, who does that?
Oh my God.
And he had no medical training.
That's
so scary to me.
Yeah.
Like what was her background? Was she just a practice manager?
Yeah, she like that's what her role was, but I forget like what she did. It was not like she had like business training prior to. It was just like,
was
hey,
she
honey.
just like, Brandon, I need you to teach me everything that's in your brain because I don't know what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, had we had more time, but I mean, that was definitely a good learning opportunity for a lot of people in the room.
Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, how was your turnout for your lecture? Because it was you and Ashley back to back, right?
Yeah, there were probably about 50 in each.
Okay, good.
Yeah, there was it was kind of the end of day 2. So I think one thing that hurt attendance was that there was a 45-minute break before my talk and then Ashley's. And I think people went to go get something to drink and then just never came back because they didn't want to walk. But other than that, no, it was a good experience like it has been the past 2 years.
Good. And you're gonna be doing some more stuff on the side though, right?
Yeah, I'm still up for any kind of consulting as much time as I have. I'm redoing your website. I'm working with Georgia Leith Skin.
We take all of Brandon's time.
I mean, Squarespace makes it easy. So, no, but I love you guys and I want everyone to succeed and do well. And if I can impart my wisdom on some things, then, I will.
You have to keep all the ducks in a row. You got to keep all of us little duckies in a row.
God.
I do.
Brandon's going to take the ducks and put them in a bag one day.
Be like, I'm done.
I will still cast my net for you little chickadees anytime.
It's just
all right, guys. Well, we're at that 30-minute mark. So if you've hung on this long, thanks for tuning in today. We'll definitely be coming in hot with another episode. Usually every other week is our cadence now. So you can follow us on Instagram, the Aesthetics Injector Gang podcast. You can stalk me. I am _aesthetic consultant on Instagram. My link tree's in there for all the ways to stalk me. And Sarah?
Instagram is injector_Sarah. Same thing with TikTok and Facebook.
And
mine's
Valerie?
Super original too. I'm injector_Valerie, and I'm at Spindrift Aesthetics in St. Pete.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Awesome. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and comment. Follow us on Instagram at the Aesthetics Injector Gang.